Yeah. I enjoyed it.
Broski, yeah, now that was a fire, fire concept.
Yeah, I've been seeing people talk about it a lot this week, as far as their takes on it, but I ain't seen people like really address like the elephant in the room and stuff. Like I've been on both sides of that spectrum before,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
like on both sides of the perspectives that was in there. Like I've been the jealous friend, I've also been the friend that had the friend that was jealous of him. It's like, yeah, I think you miss a lot on that song. They're just looking at it like, yeah, this dude trifling. I'm like, nah,
He a hater.
he like regular people. Like,
Yeah.
okay.
And I think that one, it's always gonna be tough to have the real conversations on social media because everybody's playing a character. So everybody's gonna feel like a they never like had
I've
any
never been
feelings of
jealous.
envy or jealousy um inside like in their lifetime, and that only people have always felt that way towards them. Where I think that Joyner did a really good he did a really good job, from what I can remember of the video, of a pointing out like just different pieces of the perspective. If I remember correctly, he started off, the guy was giving him his praise, saying how much he did for him, X, Y, and Z. Then it kind of switched to, in which I interpreted as like the guy's inner thoughts, where he still had a little bit of like resentment when it came down to like how much he did do to him, and there comes the entitled
A
piece,
little, yeah, I was just about to say a level of
where
entitlement.
I imagine everybody has dealt with some level of entitlement to something that you felt that you should have had, but like you had to check yourself and be like, maybe not. Like,
If you are a person that's thinking the thing completely through,
mm-hmm,
because some people will get to that part that they entitled and just be there, and
mm-hmm,
then I had to outgrow the, you know what I mean?
mm-hmm.
I had to grow and I had to cut them off because I'm growing.
Or a lot of people, it's the abandonment too. That's where they get stuck on. Like
Mm.
Mm.
it's the we started here and I helped you through this, and then you took off, and I'm still here.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like and there was a point where I may even been a little ahead of you,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
and was showing you and giving you game, and then the seed that I watered, and the plant that I poured into it blew and it blossomed,
You know, I'm entitled to.
and it became. And but I mean, are you? Or I guess my question is the person who had your flower watered, what do
Is there some
you
level of entitlement
you-
that you should have to it?
or no, what do you owe?
Do I owe?
Oh,
Yeah,
you talking
yeah,
about that? Oh,
Yeah,
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 yeah.
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 Like from the
I
joiner.
think that's the question that then becomes based around morality.
Mm-hmm.
I think, like if we're speaking inside like moral terms, I think that yeah, you probably should look out a little bit, right? And even though in that video it sounded like he did look out, to an extent,
Yeah.
but homie was on hard time, so he wanted more. That's kind of what it seemed like, or he felt that like, bro, like since I did all this, bro, I need that lookout. I need that one. You up right now, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think that, are you entitled? No. But if, or should you feel like you have to do something? No. But at the same time, what would be like the moral good, the better
Mm-hmm.
thing to do if like somebody was a reason behind your success? Like they played an integral part. Of course, it's your success, so you get to choose what you do with it, how you do
Right.
with it. Um, but I do think that like there are some, like things that you should do
Mm-hmm.
to an extent, but that's also not overreaching. Like you ain't got to buy a nigga a car, you ain't got to pay
Yeah, it's tough to
X Y
find that
Z.
line.
Like I think that there's like pieces where
It
like
shouldn't be detrimental.
sometimes like the information you can give, like
Exactly.
a
Even putting them in a different position. Like you know,
yes,
put
yes,
them in a different position. Like even if you don't give them the money, I think like yeah, if you get in a position and your homie helps you get there, or they was there along the way, because they ain't necessarily even that he helped you get there, but it's like yeah, bro, I was there for you along the way. Like yeah, I know if I make it successfully ever, my homie's gonna be right there with me. That's how I feel about it. Like I'm gonna make sure I look out. Like the extent in which I look out, that's my choice, and that's where the conversation really at. Like where he like what's the extent he expected to be looked out for. Like even across the song, you can see like he's doing stuff like this in real life stages. So yeah, it's pretty weird.
But and I was gonna say, I think it's also you gotta like. I think what like if I was the person that was feeling entitled and or I can see myself in both. Like I say, life is life. It comes full circle. You be in both situations. It's all about your perspective. But think what a person would want, or what you should like feel obligated, is the way that man watered into you to put you in a position to bloom. You should try to water in him to where it ain't gonna be the same bloom, but you should try to put him in a position to where he can be flourish at whatever he's good at. Whether he's a manager or whether he's landscaping or but you should try to find something where he can be the best at whatever. Whether it's not, if I'm a rapper, you might not be the best rapper. You might not be able to do what I can do rapping, but you might be the best photographer. You might be the best videographer ever. And let me help you put you in a position so you can be the best at what you meant to do.
Yeah.
And I think that's the the obligation and that's the way you let that person, if he feels that way, that this man put me in a position to be the best I can be, then you probably don't have that animosity or those
It's
feelings.
much resentment.
Yeah, of resentment.
And I think that this is just the thing when it comes down to like if you are friends with people long enough and your friend group becomes staggered, these are scenarios and situations that are naturally going to rise. And like some of these emotions and feelings are human in itself, in which every person is going to feel and get some of this, but it's how you deal with it and what you do from it, right? That's really, really, really important if we're having like the best, honest conversation out of it. I don't know, bro.
Also, no, I was gonna say also, like, I've been friends with some niggas long enough to where this cycle done happened twice. Like we was friends in high school and Big Bro was up. I was the younger dude. Looking up. This OG. You get in your 20s, you might get ahead of him. Then it comes to the 30, he might, catch up and so. But if there's always that transparency, there's always that.
Yeah.
And there may have been feelings of resentment at one point, even within that on either side. But it's like you say, like the same way, like we talk about like relationships, the friendship shit there too. Like that loyalty and stick to itness, you'll see, the shit come full circle. If you there long enough and blessed enough and fortunate enough to live long enough, sometimes circles go twice, And that'd be the beautiful thing is like where you can sit back with a homie and be like, damn, I remember when, I was up and then you wasn't. And then I remember when you was up and I wasn't, and then now we both up and we live. So I think a lot of that has to come to it as far as like not letting your feelings, dictate what you do or how you move and how you act.
Right. And what I would say is that my biggest thing, especially when it becomes like the staggered group and somebody is up, somebody's doing well. For me, I'm a competitive person, so I just look at it as motivation. Like that's just like, oh, bro, that's good shit.
Well, that's
so.
what we on.
So like, all right, like I got to get my ducks in a row. I got to kind of like take this next step.
Hey, we do that too with our friendship, if y'all notice.
I could imagine. Yeah.
Like,
I think it's a natural
we
thing.
don't need to say anything about it, but I think we all just kind of do that anyway. Like, it's like, nah, this nigga got this. I got to come up. Like,
and I think that that's a part of like, and as you were saying, I think that's it. Matter of fact, we previously had a conversation about vetting, and we were talking about how seeing that you have had long-term friendships, and that's a sign that you're able to actually have that relationship that goes through these different ebbs and flows as we were speaking of earlier, and still maintain that relationship. Because the thing about it is, I think that it's very natural for us as men to do that. As human, period. We compare ourselves to the things around us and the people around us. I think that's like a subconscious thing that we can't really undo. But it's all about what it is that how you internalize it, and then what does this look like in execution afterwards. And I think that that's the healthy way to deal with it. Like you say, dude, you know what I mean? Your homie doing this thing, it should motivate you. That's like in the music, John. Like I seen how you was moving. And I'm like, okay, no, I need some of that. I'm finna. And I remember during that time period, I was like, nah, okay, this verse right here, all right, I'm ready to let him hear this one. Because I don't feel like I'm killing shit. You know what I mean? And then, so it was just always.
And then I hear that, be like, damn, I got to go to the wood shop.
And then
I got to start carving some shit out.
And then I heard both of y'all, and I wrote my shits, and nah, I'm fucking around. But I want to say, welcome back to the To Be Fair Show.
Yeah.
Season 3.
Yep.
From the foe. 2B 234. I am your host, Johnny P.
Old head real.
It's Q.
And we back.
We back.
We almost, got lost in that one. That was a good one though. But I think it would be a good time to go ahead and move on to questions.
All right, so I had something that was on my mind this week, and I started off with like the headline, the title. Do you think that our emphasis on mental health today is overrated? I think that
Yeah,
we can say that as we as we get into like the conversations of the ethos right now, there is a lot of mental health conversations in which it's best to start off by saying that mental health is real. It is something to be acknowledged. It is in all its stages, it's something to talk about and be mindful of. So I think that that's probably like a baseline thing that we have to start the conversation off at.
So my question, so are you going to give a yes or no answer, right? And then tell us where you stand from there, and that's what we'll.
Well, I can give my perspective if y'all want to hop in first.
Can I hop in first?
Yeah. So what's your answer first?
The emphasis on is it overrated? I would say no. I think what's overrated is the emphasis on mental health in the current state allows people to use it as a crutch, and there's no emphasis on mental fortitude, mental strength, and how do you fight through a lot of.
All right, so you saying no to say yes for real?
That's what it sounds like.
I don't think mental health is important. You do.
No, I said its emphasis today is overrated. The emphasis is on not mental fortitude, in which you was going down the line of.
I think that's a part of mental health, though. I think.
No, but what you trying to die? Come on, you going. You trying to leave the building?
Like I literally set it up with like I told you with the. All right, go ahead.
But you get it off. Get it off. Oh, you want me to say?
Yeah.
Well, I'm done, I absolutely say it is. I say
I gotta find how. All right, Johnny, stay at no. We gotta argue. Nah, go ahead, bro.
I say it is because it was funny. Like that you said that, and I went back and looked at my my ideas for topics, and I was like, how I OD'd on the use of the word trauma. And I was speaking with my mom, and you know, for some people, I know that there are people that have these worse scenarios than other. We all live different lives and go through different things. I think that like something like when we think of like mental health, nobody ever thinks about like cognitive behavioral therapy, which is more of the understanding of how to control your thoughts.
CBT.
You know what I mean? So like I definitely think that we're like ODing on it. But and you know, I go through therapy. It's one thing sitting there. I think, bro, we're making too much. It's almost like a way to escape accountability at this point.
I mean,
we're like ODing on it, like you know what I mean. And it's not helping anything. The fact that okay, we're talking about it so much, but are you going to therapy though? You got all of these. Go to therapy, bro. I don't want to hear you complain every day about all of these different things that happen, bro. Well, why aren't you actively going to therapy?
But my thing is, okay, let me ask you this though: like the therapy, does that help?
Well, I can only speak from my experience. It did
for you.
Yes,
it helps. And,
yes.
And in therapy, what are some of the concepts that you like mentally that y'all focus on?
So really, it's just we don't even like go through like it's like a class or anything. We just converse. So like she'll ask me how I'm doing and you know what's been going on, how I'm feeling, and my answer pretty much will lean her into a question. So we're really just dissecting, and then that's like, and I did tell them earlier when I first started. This was a minute ago. My mom had introduced cognitive behavioral therapy to me as a thing. I had never heard of it, and so she was being trained to be a cognitive behavioral therapist. So and I told my therapist that was like something that I was interested in, and so for me, that's kind of it's the way of thinking your way through a thing and not putting yourself in there as the victim of the thing.
Okay, exactly. So that's what I wanted to get. So they do preach about like mental accountability about as far as like when you're going through certain holding yourself accountable.
Right.
That's a part of mental health.
Right, but that's not a part of where the discussion is being had right now that we're hearing so loudly.
Right. That's why I started off by saying like we all acknowledge mental health is real and it's an important thing.
Okay.
I think that if I was to go to where I think a lot of the conversation starts to sway is we have a self-diagnosis culture. And I think that that's probably like the
Sheesh.
biggest thing where a lot of these terms hold weight and mean a lot.
Yes.
But just because of like, for example, you feel uncomfortable, don't mean you got anxiety.
Facts.
You know what I mean? And we as a culture tend to self-diagnose a lot. And I believe that if I was to put my finger on one thing that is probably like a leading cause to like today, where I think I don't want to jump off the window. I guess I'll
Jump.
say.
No, yeah,
Jump.
jump.
But I do think that right now there's a space where us as adults and the kids that are growing up aren't being given the tools for,
Yeah.
like you said, mental fortitude. And a lot of it is just coming off of lazy diagnosis and self-diagnosis. Where like back in the day, they gave every black boy ADHD
Mm-hmm.
just because of like
You was
just the way
doing boy
that like
shit.
boys learn different.
Yeah.
They ain't about to sit inside a chair and be docile like girls. They're more they learn through action. Um through I forget like it's three different learning styles.
Like
But
hands on,
yeah,
visual, and
is it
kinetic. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
kinetic
It is
learning.
Like
kinetic.
actually doing
But
it, reading it, and hearing somebody tell you or something.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So yeah, I don't know that. Like I said, that's kind of my thoughts take. What y'all say?
No, I was gonna say. I mean, I will give like there is validity to the point where like people are using quote unquote mental health as
Crutch.
a crutch, or like some people even they'll be like, um, people use some of that shit as an excuse to be an asshole.
Mm-hmm.
Like I see that a lot. It was an excuse to be like bad
Mm.
character.
Yep.
Such and such. That's not the when you said that when I heard mental health, I think that's the opposite of mental health. If we're just allowing people to self-diagnose and say I'm crazy,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's nothing that comes with it, that kind of mental health is overrated. But when I hear about people going through therapy, cognitive stuff that actually makes you question your behaviors
Mm-hmm.
and the reasoning behind it and make you hold yourself accountable, that type of mental health is what we need. That's what we need to see. It's not just, oh, I got anxiety, so I'm gonna act the ass whenever I feel uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
That's mental weakness. That ain't mental strength. That's literally mental illness. Like I think a lot of times we talk about mental health, but what we're really doing is diagnosing mental illness. We're talking about the illness. We ain't talking about the health. We ain't talking about how to make yourself mentally healthy. We're talking about the mental illnesses that we have, and we just fester
I guess
in
I
that.
don't want necessarily want to like super separate because your health deals with like you being strong and weak at the same time. Like that's health overall. I think mental
I think
illness
health
is a
is going
part of
from
mental
weak
health.
to strong.
Oh no, for sure, for sure. I guess what I'm saying is I don't want to separate mental illness and like those things from mental health. And just saying that being mentally healthy just means that you got it all figured out and you got it together.
I'm not
Because
saying
it's a continue. It's a is that the word?
I'm not saying that, but I'm
Like
saying
it's
we can't be stuck in
a
diagnosis.
spectrum. There we go.
I get, but I'm just saying I get the spectrum too, and I think it's
Yeah,
all
yeah.
on the spectrum. But we can't just be stuck in diagnosis phase when we're just
Oh no,
talking
I
about
agree with this for
the
sure.
mental illness. And what the focus need to be on is how do you go from mentally ill, mentally weak to having that cognitive, accountability, having that reasoning, having that understanding
Well,
and
you said
perspective.
fortitude. I think that's a good word.
And I think that
Fortitude, but and that's where we need to put the focus on. And focusing on that isn't overrated. I
no, no,
don't
no,
think.
I know,
absolutely.
but
We,
it's not the focus right now. I guess
yeah,
that's what I'm saying is that you're giving like the best, like what we should do, and
yeah,
say
yeah, yeah,
that's not overrated. I agree,
100%.
because but we're not doing said thing right now. That's the part that I'm saying is overrated. Like,
I'm just trying to
Yeah,
be
I think
positive.
that we're continuously as a culture, as individuals, we're continuously attempting to run away from ourselves. And so that's why you don't want to. That's why you don't want to go to therapy, because you feel that you will feel worse about yourself, or hearing somebody tell you the thing that you already know and knew was the answer is just to make you feel. It's just gonna make you don't want your feelings hurt.
And the technology of today is allowing and is making that shit more accessible.
For
It's making
sure.
it easier to get in these cubby holes. Like maybe think about like the metaverse, and eventually we all gonna be in like virtual reality and glasses with AI. Just that's gonna be our whole world, and
Yeah, I was about to say, I
we
think
not gonna interact with each other to talk. We just gonna be in these virtual.
I'm cool on that, Juice,
I mean,
bro.
that's where it's
Yeah, I believe
heading.
that's where it's heading.
Like
Yeah,
that's where, and like we gonna be dead one day.
for sure.
And after we dead, we ain't gonna even have no say on like where it's going or what's gonna happen after that. So I mean, I think that's why it's so important now to even talk about that shit, because it's only so long that we gonna be able to affect the outcome, or have a ability to have these
To create the path
conversations
for it.
so people can see both sides, because eventually people gonna get stuck in the metaverse or whatever, and they not gonna be able to see real. They not gonna be able to get and touch Earth to really know that. It's like when you fly and you get stuck in a cloud. You don't know up from down, left from right. You just in that motherfucker, and like we can still touch Earth,
Yes.
and like that's very important right now, because eventually that ability is gonna be lost. And
Yeah, Tone, what you was about to say?
No, I was about to say, I think a lot of people just doing this stuff like seeking validity for like seeking validation for why they haven't succeeded. Like so, it's like a valid excuse. Like, oh yeah, if I got this, then I can say I haven't succeeded. If I got this mental disability, then I got an excuse for why I haven't
mental weakness.
made it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. But
Yeah, people just generally don't want to see themselves at all. And I get it.
people don't want
You
to
know
hold
what I mean?
themselves accountable. People don't want to
Yeah.
say, "I'm here because of the
I did it.
decisions I made."
Yeah. And then,
Everybody want to be like, it's the such and such. It's because of this. It's because of that, and
oh, it's,
nobody want to sit
bruh.
and
And,
hold
and
this
that's why I
shit.
say we OD'd on the word trauma. Because, like, I'll give you like, when I was speaking with my mom, she was saying that I was telling her, like, I was like, there should neither me, my brother, nor my sister would be should that I've seen, like, as far as in the household, that we say, oh, we had a traumatic life. Bro, you know there's an actual definition to the word traumatic. Like,
Just
no,
because you
she
didn't
was saying,
agree
like,
with it, just
yeah,
because you didn't
and
agree, don't mean it was
my mom
traumatic.
gave me an example of like what could have been traumatic to me, and she was talking about how like her and old had separated, and that could be traumatic. I'm like, no, that's just regular life.
It's
Like
motherfuckers,
we have to stop acting like these
people who've been
normal
abused.
everyday life things are just that's creating these traumatic experiences for you. Like that's not what this is. That's like we're overusing, as we said many times, we're overusing these buzzwords.
And what it does, it devalues the effect of the people who actually been through, and that's what I
And
think people need to really understand.
and
And like that's a big thing. It's because
mm-hmm.
if it's like the women who like that lie about sexual assault, and
Yeah,
how that
yeah.
devalues the women who actually been. If everybody has trauma, everybody been through shit, and just because I didn't agree with my parents, even though I had a good childhood, and I call that trauma, then what about the people who've actually been abused?
Exactly.
What about all those people? If
And then they like,
when it's
well, it
gentrified,
did. And then the thing
the
is, was
same thing they do to black
you
people.
can make it like, oh, but for me, it was traumatic because it made me feel that. Well, sound like what is it? So like, are we saying that you got your ass whooped for doing something you shouldn't have been doing, and now you had a traumatic experience? Okay, but did they actually were they beating you like fists and like you know what I mean, or did you get a whooping with a belt, my nigga,
And see,
and it hit your back? And it felt like it was like everybody else
and
felt
even
when
the
they
ass
ate it.
whooping ain't traumatic, because you
Exactly.
probably was a badass one that deserved that
That's not
motherfucker.
trauma, is what I'm saying. That's not trauma. You know what I mean?
But
Like when
see,
I
it
was
was
telling my
saving
mom, I
your
was like,
life.
in our generation, we're crying too fucking much. We're
Exactly.
crying about everything. Like when my mom say that her child upbringing was traumatic, I know that is a fact. Like I've heard the stories, and these things add up to what I would understand as having a traumatic upbringing.
This
When you start talking about like seeing your mom get beat by your pops, and seeing, you know what I mean, and
and she
seeing,
couldn't leave, and she
Okay,
couldn't do
yeah,
it.
like these type of things that like real things have happened. And I think that like for our generation, our parents have actually seen a level of living and a different, yeah, like think about, yeah, man,
It's
they
the
it's
same to
no,
me. To me, it's the same thing that they do to like black people. You think about civil rights, how back in the '60s, black people we you can go through history. You know what black people been through in this
mm-hmm,
country. If you look at civil rights now and who are taken advantage of, who the most civil rights case, the people who are talking, who is that? It's not us.
it's not us.
And it's the same thing with that trauma. If everybody is talking about I've been discriminated against,
Mm,
it takes away from the people who've really been discriminated against, and that's what I think it's a correlation. It's not a coincidence that
mm.
we live in a country where mental health, where everybody want to use excuses for mental health, and we the same country where civil rights has been gentrified because everybody want to feel discriminated against. I think it's the same mindset, and it just translates over and over in different spaces. But
I was about to say, I feel like grief and trauma does look different for different people. Like your mom was saying, Rev, like she was saying, like it could have been traumatic when your mom and well when her and your father divorced.
Yeah.
That could have been traumatic for you, but it wasn't in your case. But it does look different for different people. I think where the issue comes in more so is that we give way too much power to the traumas that we go to. Where compared to in the past, it was like there was a pride. You had people who believed in God.
That was a
you had
stepping
people who were
stone.
speaking that. There you had people who believed like it was a whole aura of hey, I'm stronger than my
it
problem.
was accomplishment to get over it.
Yeah, exactly.
I've been through this, but I still got here because I'm me.
Exactly.
And people don't have that same.
Like there was a
mental
bigger
fortitude.
emphasis put on perseverance.
Perseverance. That's fortitude. That's
Yeah.
Just
So
fighting, being
Exactly.
strong.
We live in a time of attention. Trauma is like an easy form of get attention. Like we got people
For sure.
who are really just doing anything to be on. I see so many videos that be like people making fake videos now, like of different stupid scenarios just so they can get views.
And then here's another thing: if trauma's everywhere, that's just a part of life, and you still got to like. If we're all gonna have trauma, fuck it, it don't matter. It's part of life.
Then
what are we
hold
going
on.
to
Now
do next?
I have a question. Now that we're talking about like the whole trauma thing, do you believe that trauma is passed through DNA?
Well, I think that there is scientific evidence to say yes. I forget what is the word. Is it epigenetics? Is that what it is? But yes.
So you saying you believe that it is?
Well, I don't think that like it's not really a thing of belief. It's just like a scientific fact.
Well, and
like
I
they've
think-
researched through.
And what it is, trauma changes your genetic makeup, and then
in your code.
and that's what gets. It's not that you're passing trauma down. It's trauma changes. Like
and so your response to specific stimuli is different naturally. Like this has been seen through like studies with like whether it's the Jewish people, black people. But this is seen through animals, and this is kind of like a basic like piece of like
So exactly what
evolution.
we're talking about. They was talking about the idea that if you leave
Let me
the
make-
flies in the bottle, if the flies procreate, then
And
the
then it's a
other
couple
fly
generations.
you can take the top off and
they're
they'll
only
never
gonna
fly
go
out of
to
it.
this.
Yeah. No, I know you're talking. I got you.
And so I think that could be.
So you think so we're saying like off the top that black people in general are born in trauma, with trauma,
I
They're
wouldn't say
born
with
with-
traumatic experiences
I wouldn't
within
say
their
that- I wouldn't say
within
that
their
off
psyche,
top.
so to say.
Well,
I wouldn't say that off top because, I mean, I think like I say, like I'll use my parents for example. I think my parents are a little older. I think some of the shit they went through actually was traumatic. They had me a little later in life, so I think a lot of that shit they actually had time to deal with and like work through before having me, and I don't think they like transferred like the trauma.
Yeah, but if it's in the
that they
DNA,
went
then
through.
it's not something that they can actually
yeah,
change.
yeah. I think that
That means
so
that it's coming
the way
down
that
from.
it works is that yes.
Well, okay. I mean,
Well, it's yes and no because I think that it's like a level of susceptibility or like it might be a quicker trigger to where like the same way
I
you know
agree with
like
that. No, I do.
certain animals like they hear a thing like crackle over there and they know just turn real quick and go because of like they've been prey for so long that like that's just a natural response like quote unquote human nature like this is
bunnies.
a smaller piece that's been ingrained within our human nature
Squirrels
piece.
and shit. They just take over.
In which I guess I also feel like I would want to research epigenetics a little bit more right now than freestyling it. Like I have a really base level understanding of it, but I think that we can get into this inside like a deeper thing just in case I'm giving bad examples that can be picked the fuck apart.
Yeah, I get you.
On something that does have like a big research base.
And like for me, that's why I felt like say again.
No.
And then for me, that's why I felt like that's why to me it lended itself for it to be asking question form if you believe it or not. Because like I've seen the conversation be had where they say like that we're as black people we're dealing with traumas of our ancestors being passed down.
Yeah.
And then I mean, so if we call it trauma, I would say, but how would you say that this actually manifests itself in people? So will we say that we're?
But that's why I don't use the word trauma. That was the part. Like I think that we pass down modified
Experiences.
genetic code. And I don't know if that, and that's why I use like the word is trigger is a different like like the way you respond to a stimuli.
Good too.
But I've heard it worded that way multiple times as
Oh
far
no,
as
for sure.
calling it trauma, and that's we've OD'd on it, and that goes back to your question about the mental health. I think we're breaking our society down to be so pacified or want to be pacified to where it's very very unproductive. It's like you think about it. I was hearing somebody was talking about Putin. Putin was saying something about how weak we are, and he's talking about us, not like just the you know what I mean, not just the
Putin talking
military.
shit.
He ain't gonna try it though.
Putin
But I'm
talking
just
shit.
talking about like just
He
that
ain't gonna push
if
the
you look
button.
at how
I'm gonna
much
say
more.
Prigozhin. What's up, Putin?
Say again?
What's up, Putin? Nah, I'm talking shit. Somebody ran up on Putin.
Oh yeah, you talking about your boys? Yeah.
Yeah.
Was about to run up on him and get him right together.
Tighten them up.
Shit. Yeah, I don't know. I guess if we're looking to put a cap on the mental health conversation, of course, we all do believe that trauma exists. We all think that anxiety. We can go down a litany of like
Yeah.
different
Hell, I
little
take
diagnoses.
medications for it. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right,
I've been diagnosed to take medications for it.
right.
So I
So
definitely believe in it.
yeah, so it's not a matter of any of these things not existing.
Right.
And to make sure that I restate the question, would be: is there a like? Do you think that our emphasis on where the conversation is today is overrated when it comes down to mental health because of where the conversation currently is? Um, and again, I think that we all feel as though we have to be given more tools than diagnosis to be able to actually deal with what life is going to be, regardless. There won't be a trauma-free life. There won't be a problem-free life,
Perfect
and
life.
a perfect life at all. Like we're all going to be given adversities, and emphasizing the tools to deal with it over self-diagnosis, for me, I think will probably be a progressive step for us as a society.
Agree. And as we put a pin in it, I just want to say, I challenge y'all to take a look into CBT, that cognitive behavioral therapy. I challenge you to take a look into it and just see what you think about it. You know what I mean? I found it very beneficial.
All right, I think that'd be a good place to put a pin in it.
Okay, so shoot, my topic this week came from a video of the Godfather speaking to a young woman,
Okay.
and I think we got it queued up.
Okay.
90% of the relationships black women are leaving. You're home wrecking. You're breaking up the relationships. Men stay.
Why do you think women are leaving?
Because you've been sold a Disney fantasy that you should be happy instead of understanding that you have duty, honor, respect, and you chose to be in a relationship, especially when you decided to make a baby with somebody. You need to stay for more than just yourself. French toast your happiness.
So I should settle.
No, you should. Are you a Christian?
I'm not.
Well, have you been married?
No, I haven't.
You plan on getting married?
I would like to.
What vows do you plan on taking?
I don't want to settle for nothing less.
What vows do you plan on taking?
I plan on...
For better, for worse, sickness and health, the rich or poor, the death do us part. Then he said shit about happiness.
So I'm supposed to be miserable.
No, you're supposed to be an adult.
That one there was a violation. Personally, I would.
Yeah. So it kind of goes back to a little bit of what we had in the live, and really a bit of my concern about about that clip there was about like why does it have to go to miserable? Why does anything that he said or even go to like settlement? So the thing to me is that what we have to understand is, well, at least in my opinion, somebody's settling for you too. The person that you're settling for is settling for you as well, because there's always the possibility of getting something, the newer model, bigger, better thing. There's always a possibility of doing
But
that.
I don't even understand why settle is such a bad word. Like, because it's like, it's saying you should, like, at some point, like, if
settled in.
Or even if you're not getting, like, if your expectation is perfect, 95 is still settling.
Right.
92 is settling. 85 and them all passing grades. Last time I was in school,
Right.
them was all passing
I
grades.
mean, at a certain point, ain't nobody have a problem with it. Everybody want to get settled down.
Exactly. Everybody want to get set. And so, and I think that this is something that's especially going to be. I think that this, and this is just my a thought that I had with AI, the innovation of AI, and we could already tell how big it's going to be, especially when it comes down to the workplace. The ability to find these jobs. We can look at how they said in within 2 years, while all of the McDonald's will be kiosk based.
I think they all about kiosks.
No, not right now. I mean, they have them in there, but they're saying like they won't be taking orders
They be having
from.
like one person running 20 like fucking stations now.
Right. So like the thing is that what
I
we're
ain't
gonna
seen a
see
person
is
take
then
orders.
in we're gonna see them to continue
person
to continue to lower down they're gonna be getting rid of jobs. So we can look at, and even if you look at in like the banking institutions and things, think about the way that in which this automated system is going to start to take over these call center jobs. So there are a lot of positions where people are making money, and you ain't even got to talk about it right now. Just how many people do you know that have been laid off? You know what I mean? So you can be at a place, and feel this stability, and then you can just lose it. They give you a little 15, 20 grand severance, and then you have to figure it all out again. So when you sit there and talk about you settling for somebody, your ass can be getting, well, first off, you're getting settled for as well, and then you could be literally on the other end of this thing within a matter of any time. At any point, the company can get a lawsuit put on them, and you know what I mean, get caught those, and they just, you know what I mean, they go under, and then what is it then? So we're these qualifiers that we're using, especially when they're outside of character. That's the thing. You got these qualifiers that are outside of character that we tend to try to use, and when I hear settle, every time, I don't know what it is, but for whatever reason, every time I hear, oh, I'm settling, it's more than most of the time. It's about things.
So, but that's an insatiable person because like settling, even like if like the 80-20 rule, you got 80 over here, you go over
For
to
the
where the
20.
grass is greener and you get the 20. Guess what you're doing over there? You're settling on a whole bunch of
A whole
different,
bunch of motion.
shit. So you're always going to settle. It's a matter of like what's most important to you, and like your ideals. And I think that's what a lot of people get caught up in. They go with like the world and what the world tells them they need, and they don't necessarily focus on like their own ideals, and so they end up getting what the world tells them they need, but then you're settling on like all your personal principles and beliefs. But you got the motherfucker that's rich. He a millionaire. He pay all the bills. You ain't gotta do nothing, but his character's fucked up.
Right.
And you're settling on all these other things, which you said you never. But just because the what the world told you should get, he has it. You end up settling on all that other stuff,
The
or you
more
could get
important.
somebody who fits all your principles and the person like what you was raised to be, and he might not have the stuff the world tells you, and you settle on that. But either way you go, you're
You
gonna
settle.
settle on something.
And
So it's a matter of you settling on your principles or what the world tell you.
Uh,
go ahead.
so could you? Because I'm not sure like exactly what I'm answering. What's the framing of your question?
So it was more like more of like a reaction to
To
what it
that
is.
or
Yeah, to what is being said, or and how you feel about settling, or what it really means to you. Because we hear this whole idea of settling.
okay.
We
I
hear this
didn't
idea
get
of
that.
settling means like, okay, so I'm supposed to settle and be miserable. We these two things are put together.
Oh, okay. All right. So I guess my reaction to the video and the conversation around settling are two different things. So when it comes to settling, I agree that like in general everybody's going to settle for something. I think that that's a natural part, and if um you get everything you ask for, you are inside the 0.001%. Like it's just not typically usually what you what's going to happen.
It's
Still gonna
impossible.
settle
Yeah,
for something,
it's
brother.
All right, but
impossible.
like so again to me, like maybe because what I'm talking about is inside like a million, like and 500,000 people,
Like one in a
one
million
person. That's what zero
that
point zero zero
that
one would
didn't
be.
settle.
The,
That
the
that
thing, the
that
funny thing
person
is,
was everything, but in general, like I'm saying, is that we all are going to settle on specific things. and understand that your partner is settling with you on very specific things. This is like the reality of life, and this is where I think the conversation always gets kind of like skewed, and like whether it's Kevin Samuels, Fresh and Fit, a lot of these people, like when you use the word ideal and like words like that, like what is your ideal mate? We're then talking in fantasy.
Right.
And so, like,
Fact.
the response that you give is going to be fantasy. And if you're
Fanatical.
approaching the response to that question with hard facts and reality, there'll always be a dissonance there. Because of, like, if I ask you, what is your ideals of a woman? Or, like, ideally, how tall should she be? How smart should she be? Like, you're going to rattle off, well, ideally, this is what I would fucking want. But we all know that's a fantasy.
Right.
But that's when we have to separate the idea of this conversation between like ideally and what we hear on the internet and what the reality of what our day to day and what everybody actually has to go through.
Because that settling, that's what makes the relationship real. If you know that like she wanted like this, but and I wanted this, but we ended up here together because this thing that we do agree on and where we did build that rapport, it's more important than that shit that I thought I wanted. It's more important than this shit that she thought. That's where the real relationship began. If you can even be like transparent about the settling. I thought I wanted this, but I met you and you was everything I didn't even know I wanted.
That's a slippery one. That nigga crazy.
What?
Nigga, try telling your lady, hey, I settled on you at this.
No, I mean,
Oh no, you can't tell. No, you definitely can't tell her.
I ain't saying like. I mean, you can't have the conversation
Hell no.
like that.
Yeah, you gonna wear that?
Let me get that one off right there.
No,
That
I
was
didn't take it
crazy.
into account like he was telling her.
That's what he just said.
I'm talking about a conversation just being transparent on both
Oh
sides.
nah.
Not just you
Hell
telling your
no,
lady.
hell no. Yeah, try it out. Tell her, and let's talk about it. That's fine.
Hey, I really wanted a girl with a fat ass, but your ass flat, but it's
But you
okay.
got a great personality.
But it's okay.
That ain't gonna work.
You better
That ain't
not
gonna work.
like not damn fat ass picture on Instagram.
Oh, yeah, you be-
and she checked it.
That's an L.
Well, I mean,
Hell yeah.
I get. Well, then maybe you can't be honest about. What,
No, you can't be.
but man, that's crazy. I mean,
You thought no, you can't be.
No, like that. Like, all right. So we
Come
all
on
know
now.
what the white lie is.
Not in that instance.
And-
Come on now.
well, maybe not about the ad. Like I wouldn't
Johnny,
talk
you
about
also
the ad.
don't want your old lady to run down everything you didn't live up to that she wanted.
No, not everything, but
Yeah, especially the shit
No,
you can't change.
yeah, the
Like
shit
I
that you
always wanted a 6-foot guy.
well, no.
Yeah.
You came up short. You came up short.
Hey, how would that feel? How would that feel, bro?
Your
You
tall
really-
friends come around and she be like laughing at
Start
they
laughing
jokes.
Hey,
too
that's
hard.
funny. Yeah,
Like, why the fuck you laughing so hard at this nigga? Like, nah,
I always wanted a man
You want
about
a nigga to
Q's
put a
height.
knife to your insecurities. Let go
I'm
ahead
not-
and have that
I'm
conversation.
not talking about like being mean and like vindictive about like. I'm just talking about just not and understanding like that. I mean, of course, like yeah, if somebody's like, yeah, nigga, I wanted a 6-foot nigga, or if I be like, yeah, I wanted a fat ass, and you just, hey, yes, that's me. Like that, I'm not talking.
And it
about,
also depends on like the rapport that y'all have.
right. I'm not,
There are like jokey relations. Like you can say that, maybe like I'm happy with what we have and what it is. I just don't. I don't prescribe anybody to like sit and have like the hard, real conversation to be like,
He talk about transparency.
yeah,
Yo,
listen, I settled with you and it's okay. I wanted a girl that
well,
was smart with a fat
you can't
ass.
use the word
and
settle, but I mean, you gotta talk about like the 80-20. I know there's 20% out there, and I don't even give a fuck about that because I got 80 here, and that's the conversation. It ain't got to be about a fat ass, or yeah, she got a fat ass, and you whatever. But no, I'm just talking about that 80-20. It's like I know there's like shit out there, but you ain't got to worry because
I
got
wanted a
this
girl that
80.
was in shape, but I'm happy.
I got this 80 right here.
murder.
We'll see.
You got to put some of this shit to application.
Hey, but see, to me, it don't ever be physical. Like it be more about like personal. And so it would never be a thing about she got a.
So what would
this
you
nigga-
say that like so for her? You would be like, I wanted a girl that was nice, but like, what would you be saying right there? Like What you talking
Hey,
about?
drop some of these in the comments, yo. I got to see some of this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And John,
Try it
give me
out.
an example of what you talking about.
Yeah.
Cause you saying they ain't physical, they ain't like what is the thing?
It could be like I always thought I wanted a woman that was working and doing this, but I got you. It may could be whatever, but I mean it's just transparent.
What are you talking
You
about?
know,
I don't know what
I
that
wanted
means
a
to me.
smart woman, but
Well,
you,
no, I thought I wanted a more modern relationship. I wanted a woman that was bringing money to the table, but I don't mind being in a traditional relationship with you because I could take care of you. I
Yeah,
like
you just don't say it though. It's all right.
Yeah,
You just
but
it ain't there's nothing to talk about. You know what I mean?
I
You just
guess,
live
okay.
that
but
through.
then are you saying like your expectations versus what you wanted changed, or you settled for something? Because I think that that's different as well. Like if I thought that I wanted something, but then I was presented with something else, and I enjoyed that, I think that's different than just like, nah, I still want that, but
Well, see,
I'm cool here.
okay, and thank you. The conversation I was having was more. I thought I wanted that, but now I got this, and this is what I really want, and I want
Yeah,
it
yeah,
both.
and I think that that's a real thing.
That's a
That's
productive
that's what I
conversation.
was talking about. Not necessarily
No, you can
settling.
have that.
Not necessarily
Just
settling.
don't say I'm.
But no, I'm saying settling. Settling means like you still want that, and
Yes.
that. But if once you find something, and I know this is what I want, the shit I thought I wanted, you could say it's settling, but I don't want that no more. So I like what I got.
Right,
I
you're
don't,
no longer settling at that point.
right,
I
and that's
think
the
like your preferences have evolved.
but that's the conversation that have is about. I'm not settling. I want this. I thought the expectations I had was this. I got this, and this is what I really want. And like I guess saying I settled, nah, but I figured out what I really want. I thought I wanted something else. I found you, and this is what I really want. And that's the better conversation. And if you can have that
Oh no,
conversation,
you can boost a girl ego up with that one.
right?
That's
Oh
the
yeah,
good
yeah,
one.
for
Y'all
sure.
tried to frame it totally.
Oh no,
you-
we
than
didn't
what
try
I
and
was.
frame it.
No,
was
you was the one.
I feel like Jeremy. I feel like Newton just reframed the question.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
enjoyed
Trying
it.
to say,
He let
but
Quinn,
you
he
just
let
helped
Q.
him get him out of
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah,
You just helped him get out of
Yeah,
it.
he
I know.
did.
I gave him an escape route.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, no, I think that's very important as far as the settling thing goes for people to understand that like you're being settled for as well.
Yeah,
Like you're not just this perfection that is, you know what I mean? You matter as a matter of fact, you've every single person that's probably been with you
You
is
should
settled.
say she's being settled for also, because that may that's
It's just what it is.
well, that's the reality.
Everybody's
That's
settling
what it
down.
is.
That's the whole point. We settling
Well, I
down.
think that that's a different terminology.
Not still. You settling down. You're settling. Like
But
this, to some
but I'm
degree,
saying,
you
but if you're settling, but if
years.
you decide this is what you want, are you still settling? Just like what we just.
No, what I'm saying is that because the thing is that if you say like I would want a woman that can control her mouth a lot better, but you really can't control your mouth. But you have other things that I'd be like, oh, why? That's okay. I deal with
Yeah,
that
and
shit
that's
sometime.
like that'd be something that's.
You know what I mean? I understand you gonna kind of get that off, but
you
at
got
the end
mad
of the
other good
day,
qualities.
you know what I mean? I just let that rock. You know what I mean? That's more of like somebody is settling for you every single time. And it's good because you ever hear like you don't hear dudes saying, "Yeah, I settled for her." You know what I mean? But they'll say that like, "I'm not settling for this. I'm not settling for that." You don't hear dudes really speaking on, "I'm not gonna settle for a woman that's not gonna." You know what I mean? We kind of really, I think that.
I think
And
we have those conversations.
Here go another. Damn, it just threw me off. You said you think we have those conversations?
Yeah, all right. So I know that like I do have a vetting process when I date for sure. In which there are certain things that I'm not settling for,
Right.
and that I'm gonna hit the tap out button every time. But mostly like physical shit, I can like there's maneuverability inside a lot of that shit.
Oh no, for sure.
There are like some intangible characteristics that I won't settle for
Some
because I
red
think that they
flags that
predict
are
out crazy
non-negotiable.
later inside life.
Yeah, no, I'm
And
not
so-
saying that men don't settle. What I'm saying is you just don't hear us openly just talking about I'm not gonna settle for such and such and
But
such.
he's saying there's certain things men won't settle for.
Well,
No, that's he's saying there's certain things that he won't settle for.
yeah, I
That's just
definitely
him
said me.
specifically.
Okay.
And I think that there are certain things that I will settle for. Like it just is what it is.
No, I
Like,
get it. I'm just talking about the actual conversation. We just don't
I'm
hear it.
glad you cut me off. I was about to go ahead.
You was about to jump off?
Yeah.
Hey, that happens. Hey, that happens. It happens. But yeah, I feel like the idea of settling is like really kind of frowned upon. And I don't even think most of the time when I hear
But that's not
it
ego,
being
men
said,
and women.
huh?
That's our ego, men and women. None of us want to feel like we got settled on.
Oh, I don't, bruh. I know
But
for a fact
you're
any
only
women.
talking about you specifically.
Yeah. It's just makes sense, bro, because there's always
But
something
you got a
better
good
out there.
perspective on it though. Most people ain't
Yeah,
got the
I
same.
think most people,
They
human
got the
beings,
good
don't got that good
perspective
perspective.
on it.
But if you think that you got you like a
That
10
shit
for
painful
real,
for motherfuckers.
you
Nobody,
I'm gonna tell you
you
this:
should let it go.
the bad bitch and the nigga that think he got it all figured out, they both don't think that they being settled on.
Mm.
and the bad bitch be the one that be getting settled on the most because it's like I did not want a personality like this, but
Get them. Look at
that
get them.
ass.
Oh me?
Well, dudes
I don't
settle
know.
for physical shit all the time.
Well, I'm
They'll
about to
get
say
with
like,
a
Oh yeah,
bad,
no, for
like they'll
sure,
get
for
with a
sure.
bad bitch that don't fit none of their principles
oh
just
shit,
because she bad.
that's actually the people that don't settle. Like
Who?
people that have really shallow,
What's because they don't have no principle.
right? But but that's why like people that if my only goal is that you make a lot of money, and that's like what a lot of manosphere shit is, and a lot of the city girl shit is like
No, but it's
a
still.
nigga that's gonna spend
A lot of money.
a lot of money. Oh my bad. Like that's the same thing. But then like a lot of what you hear in the manosphere is like a woman that's really really beautiful, and that's like the main thing, like
Mhm.
But she
a
dumb
10.
as a bag of rocks.
Oh right, or whatnot. I mean, that's not
Well,
necessarily.
no, no,
I'm about
no.
to say that's not necessarily manosphere. That's like very specific, like shallow niggas where like, especially as you call them, the dweebs that ain't really ever had shit, and they only just want like,
They
it's
get
my first time getting some level of clout,
a baddie.
and
I got
I
a
can get
baddie.
she bad as hell,
Yeah, yeah.
I don't
and
care
that's all
about
they care
none
about. They
of
don't care
that
nothing
shit.
about personality, none of the
But
other
did you
shit.
see her though?
Right, the trophy wife type.
But
Yeah,
did you?
I mean, I don't really think she a trophy if she just beauty is not the doesn't make you a trophy.
But
It's
no, but
because I still
that's
have to
to
be able to.
you, but
No, but
then
what I'm saying is that like even if you listen to like the let's say the manosphere talk, they were still talking about like being able to have you come to this ball with me and be able to be okay with you talking amongst the people that I'm
Oh no,
around.
that's
And
why I
you know what I
moved it
mean?
away from that a little bit. 'Cause
Yeah.
they be having like different like traditional requirements that they be wanting a woman to do.
but it's some Carlos
But
Boozers
then
out here.
there's also a
Said
certain set.
Carlos Boozer.
There's some Carlos Boozers
He
out
back to
here.
the Carlos Boozer.
I actually don't want to shit on Carlos Boozer specifically. Like if you said Anderson Varejao or something like that. Like Carlos Boozer's son is the #1 ranked high school kid in the nation,
Bro, I'm just
regardless of
talking
class.
about the Sauce Walker song, bro. I didn't break this up. The Sauce Walker's
You ain't
bar.
you didn't get that reference. You just been shitting on Carlos Boozer.
I just did. This is a Sauce Walker bar.
There you go.
Don't get mad
Now
at
we can
Johnny
have it.
P.
All right, tap out. I don't know.
I mean, they say 80% of the women. That's what you were saying at the beginning. 80% of the women initiate divorces. So, how many of those you think are divorcing because they feel like they settled?
Oh no, and
I
you know
think
the thing
minimal.
is,
I don't even. You want to take it first?
go ahead. You answering
I
the
got,
question
can I ask the
directly.
question?
No, well, we
Okay.
won't respond before you ask the question.
Yeah, that's cool.
I also like that statistic to me is very very misleading because of they're talking about the woman that initiates divorce, not like if the relationship had per se ended or if a guy had forced a woman into initiating it. Because truthfully, most men don't break up in relationships.
Fact.
But what you do is you hit the tap out button and you pretty much force her hand. And I ain't gonna like I done definitely did that in relationships where like I don't feel like going through the process of like being the one that break it up. But
That's
I'm gonna make
crazy.
you,
No, I was just thinking about the idea for like a married person to push their person intentionally, push their spouse to divorce
I
them.
think that it's just a tap out button. Like
No,
you
I
know
get
if
what
you
you're saying, but the
relationships are
idea,
different, man.
yeah.
But no, but time out.
Because
The reason men don't initiate divorces is because it's not financially beneficial for men to
yeah.
get divorced.
So
absolutely.
I'm a tap out until she.
That's why men don't initiate. But it's
But
not.
I mean, at the
But
end of
it's
the
not
day,
that.
but what I'm saying is when you say I'm a tap out, like that's the intentional. That's still the same thing because the idea is that the man would
I'm not
rather
happy.
not be divorced.
Right.
You know what I mean?
We're
Because
more
of the
loyal.
financial, you know what I mean? The financial consequences
Oh,
of
all right,
divorce.
all right.
But
So we also have to like sit and speak through what real divorce statistics are, where I think it's a very small amount of people that are getting alimony. Child
yeah,
support
alimony.
on average is $400 a month.
Oh damn! I ain't know.
Like
That.
these
Oh.
aren't like these crazy things that are happening in which like are keeping men from divorcing. Like
No,
I
well,
forget
well,
the
I would
percentage,
say,
but it's like it's
Well,
under
what I
10%.
heard-
well, no. I won't say like alimony is not that. Yeah, alimony is not something that generally happens. But the idea of having to sell the home or lose the home, like you get caught infidelity, bro. You'll literally be the one to go without the home.
Even though
But
you're
in the instance, so that's the thing. It's more consequences than like
Right,
paying
but
alimony.
that's like
But
a
you talking
very
about what
different
you
version of
no, what I'm talking about in a divorce.
a divorce. Like
At our
infidelity is a
age,
different
generally,
version.
well, I would assume that like, well,
And then
at
if I
our
say
age
most
or
of us
around it,
niggas
most of
ain't
us
really.
will be buying a home at some point between here and like 40. I would say that if that's what you would like. So if you do make that decision to do that, then that's probably the biggest L, to lose the home that you, and especially you've been working to get it for this long. Then you've been making these
making all that,
payments
you
for
put
so
all that
long.
money into it. You're
Yeah.
losing it, and you got to start over.
And then you
from
got to
scratch.
start over. You know what I
That's
mean? So
insane.
that's why dudes generally ain't trying to do
And so
that,
you
John.
think
And
that
then
most
and then
married
child support on top of it, even though it's $400 a month. If you say on average it's $400 a month, I don't know.
Still $400.
Yeah, that's still 400. And then yeah, it's just
But do you
an
think
L.
that's why
People,
men stay like? Do you think that's why like when it comes to divorces, like men will be unhappy in a relationship, like how we were just talking about, like the happiness and like, and do you think that's the reason why men stay in relationships longer and try to work it out? Because if it doesn't work out, it's coming back on them
I
more.
think that
Or
generally
do you
men
think it's
don't want
just
to lose their
or do you
family.
think it's just a loyalty
And
thing?
it's the idea of like losing your family, even though it's what I think that you can.
But you don't think the money has any motivation
Oh
to
no,
it at
for
all?
sure. No,
Like,
absolutely, absolutely. Because I mean, you hear this like you can definitely hold the L if you have anything. You can hold the L, and you can hear as many stories where if you've done anything and you have anything, you can definitely end up trying to figure it out again, starting from where you were. But I mean, at the same time, I'd say that. Well, I'll leave that out. What I say is that um, I think that most men generally the reason why most men don't like break off or file for the divorce is because we generally don't want to lose our family or don't want to be the you can make decisions that can result, and you know that it could result in you losing your family, but that's not what you really want. Even if you're making the decision, you're not just like, man, I really wish they'll move out, or I really wish I can, get away from
and
my
so
family.
you think that women are making that and they don't care if they lose their family.
Oh no, I don't think that because they don't lose their family. They just getting rid of you.
They're gonna lose their family.
Yeah, they just getting rid of you. So they just taking the kids and
Okay,
they're
so
keeping their family. You're just losing.
Okay, got you. So what you're saying is that men believe that if they get a divorce, they won't see their kids anymore. Is that what you're saying? All right. So if we're taking this, because I don't even know how many divorces deal with kids in general. But if we're just talking about man woman divorce,
Trying to think
how
of how many people I know that's married without kids.
I guess I could look that up. Percentage
I
of
will
people.
say a lot of the comments are the women are talking more so like they leave the marriages because we ain't gonna take men beating us and everything. And I don't think that's honestly the
Who's
reason
whooping?
they leave. Like that's
I
really
don't
the
know
thing.
too many dudes that's just whooping ass, bro.
And
I haven't heard of
I
that
don't
in
know
a
too many
long
niggas
time.
that's gonna brag about what.
Also, how many women
Like
do you
abuse is a
say-
thing that's actually
How many
that
women do
happens.
you
I
hear
don't know.
say they divorced, or have you heard say they divorced because it was something they did? Like, oh, I cheated, or I said, like, how many women you hear say that?
I don't think that many women would say that. I don't know if they would divorce a guy because they cheated either. That'll probably be inside like the percentage of like men that are divorcing.
You said you don't. Oh no, yeah. You ain't gonna file for divorce because you cheated.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I
Yeah.
don't think that you would.
I don't think that that's a thing either.
Yeah, but I also don't hear niggas promoting why a woman left them either. Like,
Oh no, I've heard it.
you've heard niggas be like,
Yeah,
I
I
was
fucked
fucking
up.
up and I was
Yeah,
just, oh, okay.
yeah. Even like shoot, my pops, he said it all the time.
Oh well.
Yeah, I done
Yeah,
heard men say it.
yeah. I done heard
Yeah, I
that.
messed up.
Yeah, I done heard that. If you just in relationship generally, when we hold them, when we fuck up, we know we fucked up, and it's just be like, yeah, nah, I got dang on. You know what I mean? I was.
I guess I don't be hearing fully conscious people all the time, that have really good perspective on what they do wrong. To me, that's not like an average person trait, man or woman.
Yeah, I'm just talking about like when it come down to like infidelity. You know
Oh
what I
well,
mean?
no,
Dude, they
yeah,
admit like that they
but
cheated
no,
and be like,
but
God,
that's what
yeah,
I'm
I
saying.
fucked
I
up.
think that if we're talking cheating, I don't know people who cheat that relationship broke up from cheating that don't be like, well, yeah, I cheated and that kind of fucked it up. I also don't think that that's a man woman thing. I think that, like I said, a woman that cheated, and I forget how Tone just framed that question, but like a woman that has cheated on her man, and like she's usually not the reason divorce happens. The guy's probably going to initiate that divorce. That's going to be inside like the lower percentile of men that are initiating the divorce. They're just kind of like, is what it is.
I'd agree.
Same difference is like when a man is cheating on a woman. Truthfully, women probably like deal with cheating a little bit better than men because there's a double standard that we all adhere to that deals with cheating.
Oh yeah. I think that for sure. I'd agree. I agree 100%.
Yeah, so
With that
like,
statement.
but I mean, my main thing when it comes down to just the divorce thing and women initiating it long, I mean, more is I just know too much of niggas that aren't going to break off a relationship, but will tap out until the other person is not happy, and like allow them to do it. This is before we get into like kids and houses and shit like that.
Just the nigga trait.
Just like the crux of how the shit operates, like how men in general deal with like relationship conflict and shit.
Yeah, like I say, like I definitely know what you're talking about in like regular relationships. Like I'm definitely guilty multiple times, multiple times in my, you know what I mean, childhood, growing up into a man. Like even in manhood, like still like, yeah, I'm just.
That's just that's just the conversation
shit,
that you don't necessarily want to have. You don't care to have. You don't want to see this.
Yeah, but that would be crazy at the point of marriage, though. Like,
well, it depends on what's all on the line.
Yeah, I guess
I
that
think
is
that's
too.
immature as a mug, and for marriage, like I think that's
That's
a little
crazy.
like marriage, you got married to a person, you can't be honest with them or talk to them. Like,
yeah, that's crazy. I mean, but you also, some people just get married because it sound good, and you know what I mean. In those instances where I could see it.
How many sexless, talkless marriages do it be? A lot.
A lot.
Like it ends up being a lot of those.
Yeah, those usually be back in the tenure. You know what I mean? It usually comes on the back end, but I do agree.
Maybe I don't know. I be hearing people like talk about sexless marriages now. Like that tends to become like a conversation within the sphere of it.
Yeah, usually, in my opinion, it comes more of like after the kid's born. Then you'll get that during that time, and then once the kid's born, so that's what I'm thinking. Like it be usually on like the latter side of it, unless you like get like you have kids or you have kids and then get married, or you know what I mean. If they're like really close in time, usually those sexist marriages, it's either the kid was born and then the time that they have, and it's usually that, or it's just that tenure. It gets to a point to where y'all just don't really
fuck with each other like that.
Like, you know what I mean? It's not like so much of a.
It's
the sex drives just change.
I think it's a good place to put a pin in it. We can,
putting a pin on the sexless marriage.
We can come back.
I actually think that might end up being like a really good
we
conversation.
could come back and have another conversation about why. But I think
before you put a pin, I'm gonna leave this because I also think that there is disillusion when it comes down to like single people and the amount of sex that you should have inside like real relationships or marriages.
Oh yeah, we not.
That's not like it's not like realistic at all. But
that's a great topic.
I'll put a pin in that right there. We'll come back and talk about that at a later.
Yeah, that sounds like a good topic.
Yeah, that sounds a great topic. That's a great topic.
All right, fellas. I got a question / statement. It ain't really a question. It's just kind of a observation that I've had. It's kind of based on conversations we've had previously. I ain't even gonna give it a title yet, but it just kind of goes off like, what's it called? Cognitive dissonance.
Cognitive dissonance. Yeah.
Dissonance, where like you believe certain stuff, but it's not necessarily based on like reality, or like you identify with.
Go ahead, bro.
You identify with like a certain thought pattern, but it don't necessarily apply. To your life, and it come from the conversation. We were talking about Kevin Samuel and how the dudes who took the Kevin Samuel message, those weren't the guys Kevin Samuels were talking to. But I think that message could apply to a lot of stuff. And like even politically. Like when you go to like Democrats and Republicans and black people, we all vote mostly Democrat, but we go and talk to our families and all of us came up in the church. We mostly have very conservative backgrounds, and it's like, and my question, even like I really came up with this topic. I was watching a documentary on de-dollarization about how like a lot of these countries are moving away from the dollar to do their trading, and it's already happening. Like the dollar's already been eroded, and as Americans, we still think that we're Americans and we live better than the rest of the world. Where like if you look at statistics, the average Chinese person lives better than the average American. You can look at the richest.
What you mean by that?
Their standard of living is higher on the average. Higher. They better, systems, education, the social media. The average the standard of living for the average Chinese person is better.
I'm interested in looking at.
It's better than the average American. But us as Americans,
niggas under martial law, like through digital constraint.
But they're all Chinese though. They ain't,
they ain't got nothing to do with your government.
Their oppression isn't based. Their oppression is based on being a shitty person, not being because you're black or because you're gay or because
but that's because
you're any minority group.
Bad.
The oppression is based on your actions, and if you have a low social credit score, that's based on your actions.
Right.
It's not based on your religion, your race, your sexual orientation. It ain't based on any of those things. It's based on the shit that you did.
I don't think that your standard of living in America is based off any of those things either.
Yeah, typically it has been.
What? What
you can look
religion
at
is?
You can
what
look
religion
at the wealth,
is
you can
like?
look up the wealth gap in America, like white people.
That's not. All right, so you talking about race? Because China's a homogenous country. So you got to take race out of it. But everything else you said, like LGBTQ, be turned the fuck up, and like the rich ones are the ones that like dive into it more because you get benefits of minorities.
Yes, exactly. But that's part of like my statement.
Race, like it's
that was
rich.
An example. That was an example. Like
my bad.
You
go ahead and finish. My bad. Finish.
That was a bad example. Like, but you're diving into the example.
My bad. You triggered me for a little bit. You started talking about my
No, that's how he was doing. Remember, that's how you always was doing. Y'all niggas was doing that to me every time, jumping in on my example.
Yeah,
you remember that? Yeah, that season 1.
Yeah, I get it. But I've seen it happen, so I know how to. I've watched you go through it.
Got you.
I don't learn, but. Okay, like you can take race out, but what about black people and voting Democrat? Even though we have, what about that? What about
now you could.
But it happened. What about
Do it.
You was about to talk about the church house.
I ain't even gonna say the church, but what about like some certain members of the LGBT community who say they're oppressed, but anytime they have an issue, it goes to like court and they get laws passed for them. How can you be oppressed when you're actually affecting, policy? I think a lot of that, but it all comes back to the conversation we had about mental health. It's a lot of the things that we are doing don't promote motherfuckers to actually take accountability for the actions. It's always an excuse. If you don't get to what you got, it's an excuse. Or I'm voting for this. I might believe in this, but these people aren't racist. So, I don't care how bad black people live in this situation amongst Democrats, but I'm going to still vote for them because 70 years ago, those were the non-racist people. And so it's just that Kevin Samuels effect of how a lot of people in America do actions that don't line up with what they actually think.
But hold on, you can't call that shit the Kevin Samuels effect. Let me just say that. That's not no Kevin Samuels effect. No.
Going into the Newton just framed a bunch of things in crazy, because I agree with your fucking main point, but you be using words. But that is the Kevin Samuels effect.
Nah, hell no.
It is.
Most of his consumers don't fuck with
the Chinese example got a little. Y'all know how I feel about China. I got a little derailed. I got a little derailed when I started talking about China. Black people are Democrats. That's the same exact mindset when it comes to how there's a bunch of dudes who weren't 1%ers trying to use 1% logic.
Yeah.
on how they treat women. There's a bunch of black people that aren't necessarily progressive liberal motherfuckers, but they use liberal logic into their
I
voting.
ride with you, my dog.
So and then see, this is my thing. I think that like the Kevin Samuels part. See, now you make me want to break down, and I'm not just like the Kevin Samuels support. Like, you know what I mean? I'm not like
I
that.
don't think it's a bad. I'm
Shout
not
out to
talking.
the chat. We had some essays in that motherfucker.
I'm not talking
Not
about
like
yeah.
Hispanics, but we talking about a lot of words.
some little paragraph.
Yeah, nah. Because like there was a
That's a bar right there.
Little paragraph.
No,
talking about
not
the
them
paragraph.
Hispanics, but we
But yeah,
talking paragraphs.
there were some things I didn't agree with that he said, but at the same time, like there is a bit of like the universal understanding. Like you don't have to be a 1% guy to want a feminine woman. You don't
But
have to be a
this isn't
1%
an
guy
attack on
to
Kevin
not.
Sanders. This is an attack on the followers and the people who believe.
And that's why I'm saying
Okay.
I'm talking about the followers. Like
Okay.
as a man that watched it, you don't have to be a top 1% to want to be respected and not talk too crazy. You don't have to be a 1% to want a feminine woman. You don't have to be a one. You know what I mean? There are very base level things that some of the stuff he was
That's
saying.
not what the red pill motherfuckers was taking.
Yeah, like
But yeah.
most niggas on my Facebook was saying
that's
that.
not like I get
Oh
what
yeah,
you're saying.
when you talk about like the
but I'm
cheating
talking
part,
about the
now
red,
you
like I'm talking about.
That's what he talk. Yeah, that's
I'm
where
talking
he
about
at
the
with it.
red pill, the motherfuckers who ran with it, and the motherfuckers who the fresh and fit mother. Like I don't know what they think, but like I don't know if they 1% or not. But the motherfuckers who weren't like 1%ers talking about I need a woman to do this, this, and this, knowing good and goddamn well you make $58,000 a fucking year.
Be a traditional man.
Yeah,
by
and
your income bracket.
and so, but like, but when it comes to voting, and even just the shit that we believe about like America in general, and like the prestige that we put on it, like capitalism versus communism, we think that capitalism is way better than communism, even though they both systems ran by the elite, and it's both the rich motherfuckers that run. So how can we sit up here and say that us as capitalists are better than communists, even though it's the rich motherfuckers who run all of this shit?
I might just want to be a socialist.
The rich motherfuckers run socialism too. They try to make socialism is better because there's the appearance that the people are running it, but it's all determined by the elitists. And so that's what I'm talking about. Like we'll sit up here and talk like we're better than Russia or China because they're communists. But if we look at the way our country is ran, it's basically a communist system too. And it's just a cognitive dissonance where we think because we're Americans, we're better than.
Bro, I think that there's like a lot of, and I'm not disagreeing with your overall point. Your statement, I do understand, like the cognitive dissonance that, like,
I want to get to the bottom of like why is that a thing? Like amongst all these different segments, like why is the Kevin said, why do we vote with that same mindset? Why do we believe as Americans we're better than these other countries, even though it's been proved? And that's my thing.
I think it's the lack of the lack of the investigation of the real information. You know what I mean? We'd rather just listen to this quick little news clip. Or just look at the news and listen to them talk about it rather than actually know what they're talking about. To really understand and comprehend where they're giving if you can hear their bias if you know what it is that they're actually talking about.
You know the bias.
Yeah, if you know what to look for, you can just hear the bias. You know what I mean? But instead of us actually doing the investigating and the research behind it to actually develop our own opinions, we allow a whole bunch of outside sources to provide us with opinions, and then we react on said opinions.
Or regurgitate them.
Regurgitate them, and then
act like they're ours.
Yeah. I mean, that's my opinion of why it is that it happens. I think we group think. You know what I mean? And we're very, very much impressionable.
I'd say tribalism. To me, if we just even look at both of those examples, I think that they probably go along the lines of tribalism, where black people feel as though we should vote Democrat. So no matter what happens, it's like, well, we just didn't get the right candidate, and like we'll make excuses and cop pleas for it because of like we're tribal to the party because of people before us and the people before us. Like they said that's what we should be voting, and that's what we should do. And if you didn't do that, you were Uncle Tom. There's like you're a coon. There's a bunch of like different derogatory terms that are attached to it. Same difference with like say the Kevin Samuels shit, where I think that for like him, there's a male like bias to it, and we're tribal to it, and it's like it's about time somebody stood up to us, and I fuck with that good. Like it's about time that woman got to hear some of this shit that I felt, or somebody made her feel the way that I felt for like years and time. I think that.
Well, we're gonna have to go in some more on the Kevin Samuels because I don't really be knowing. Like I can understand where you're talking about the cheating thing. You know what I mean? But I have not heard like a lot of things where I feel like the men have like
Men be wanting traditional women. Men, I've heard men say that they don't care about how much a woman makes that are working at call centers. I've seen like I've seen.
Hold on.
Specifically call
My
center.
my nigga just murdered the call center game. My nigga saying that I'm working
work
at call
Accor,
centers.
he just shit on all of Accor.
I don't even know what Accor do, but I mean, like my thing is that like
work at call centers.
a lot of his advice and like how you should pick women, I think were based for a specific income bracket that most of his consumers weren't. And I think that his approach to how women and men should operate in a relationship are based off of a man having a specific level of leverage also that most men don't have. And I've heard a lot of his different fringe points being brought up from just regular guys, and that's why.
Can you bring that back to black people and the Democratic Party?
So that's what we would go ahead.
Oh no, I can. You want me?
Is the reason that we vote for Democratic more is that we think we have more leverage, or is it like, or do we think our leverage only lies in the Democratic Party? Like that's what because I think there's very similar mindsets that make both of those things happen.
Dang, to think about does our leverage would our leverage, or do we think that our leverage would actually matter to the Republicans?
Well, I think that's the conundrum of like our evolving generations, in my opinion. Where I think that we are of the mindset that like we isolate our vote, and then like whichever party wants it, like that's our actual.
And
leverage.
then we do it as a whole.
Right. I think that previous generations they have more like it's more tribal,
right.
And so that typically inside a tribalistic system, like you demonize the opposite side. So most people can only give you the exaggerated version of what a Republican thinks, not like the actual rational reasoning in the versions. So I think for them, they would probably say that damn, my bad, I kind of lost that train. What was it?
About Republicans and how they.
Oh yeah, that it would be in their best interest to vote Democrat because the Republicans are going to be racist. They don't give a shit about you. They ain't got your best interest.
That's all true too, though. But that would still be better than us for some of this Democratic shit.
Well, is the all true too though, or is it just that rich white people don't have our best interest? Because the Democrats do the exact same shit. It's not like Democrats is off the hook on any level. Like and they don't have any pleas that them Republicans done did that they ain't also did. And they just did it inside a more elusive, backhanded way.
Like
right.
Yeah.
Like you trying to give them bail, like I'm not saying, but both of them motherfuckers do it, bro. And it's just rich white
actually racist that vote conservative.
You was about to get me turned up.
Yeah, but then, I would wonder how many racists are Democrats.
Most actual racists don't vote Republican.
Yeah, I would agree on that one. That would just make sense by default.
See that
the ones that we actually don't agree with,
right? Well,
they vote conservative too.
See, my thing is that we have to have a word because of like race is like. Either we got to open up the word for what racist means, or like have another word that are talking about people of other ethnic groups that still think that black people can't think for themselves, do what's in their best interest, and can't operate without their help. And that's what Democrats treat and look at. That's how Democrats treat and look at black people.
Yeah.
And so, like, I don't know. Do you want to call that racist? Do you want to call that prejudice? Do you want to call that like whatever a new word is?
Oh, I
It's not a
agree.
new- it's
I
not
agree
a
But
new
with
like
you.
I
addiction.
think
agree
that as
with you.
many as them motherfuckers inside that
But now you can
conservative
just look
party.
at democratic cities and look at like how many black people like the crime rate and how many black people are like getting killed in democratic cities versus the cities that are ran by red
Right,
states.
but my thing is that so if we look at that, I think that it's not really a thing about like it's more more racist inside the Republican Party, as it is like we just identify like that version of racist or racism, and
This
like
doesn't sit with us.
and we say that that's racist, but like what the motherfuckers is doing also is racist, bro.
No, that's
Right?
okay.
Like
No, I'd agree.
That's a
I
great
agree.
point. And that's why that's what that's where I
Wanted
want
to
to
hear the
get to.
conversation. Yeah,
That's exactly where I want to get to because I agree with that. And the issue that I have with it is because I can call the Democrats out and be like that, but it be shit that I agree with like certain white people in conservatism, but then they'll say something about black people that I don't agree with, and it's just something about the blackness in me that just make me want to throw that whole. I'd be like, you was right, but you was wrong. Oh, I be so close to agreeing with everything they say, but then their reasoning as to how they got to where they got is where
come from a place that pisses
and that's
you
why I
off.
just don't fuck with, and that's the issue that I had with the Republicans because I usually agree with where they stand. This is how they get to their stance. And it's usually I disagree with Democrats on their stance, but I usually agree on how they get to their stance. Where like Democrats, yeah, they talk about racism and with like reasons why they got like the Section 8 pro and food stamp, and they be like, well, racism, and we trying to combat the effects of racism, even though you're just exacerbating the effects. And as a person who doesn't like racism, I'd be like, oh, you're trying to fix racism. I can kind of go along with it and not even look at the actual effects. And then it's a motherfucker who might have a policy that'll be good for black people, but you might say some, racist shit before you get to the policy. I just totally X that out because you done said some shit that pissed me off before I even heard what you had to say. And that's my bias, and that's the shit where like,
That man, Judge Joe Brown said that Biden called black folk roaches back in the day at
super
the
predators and shit,
He
like all
did
that
it. He
shit.
did it on the campaign trail. Ain't nobody saying that.
He went to the black church and said that.
he also told y'all niggas that you ain't black.
If you don't vote for him,
That's a real white man
And
statement.
y'all
right
still
there.
voted for that.
I
Nigga.
like that.
I can't lie, I did. And
I
my
didn't. That nigga said he wasn't sorry for dog on the crime bill or any of that. That was
I would never vote for that motherfucker.
No,
But I won't dog him.
I
on
ain't
that.
never voted for a white man in my life to be president. Still never will. A white man? I fucked around and voted for a white woman.
You said you never will. Like, even if he's the best
I'm
candidate.
gonna vote for the best
That's
candidate.
a wild statement too. That's crazy.
I wish I would have got that up close. That would have been good.
I'm spending. That's the hill I die on.
My nigga said,
Make sure you
That motherfucker ain't
Let
got
me
my
ask it again.
Yeah.
So, hey, John. So, would you ever vote for a white man to be president?
Nah.
if he was the best candidate.
Yeah, say it just like that. I'd never vote for a white man to be president.
Never have, never will.
Yeah. So, to me, like that's that president shit that I think
that's black people should be
it's
presidents too.
it's going to be for the detriment of all people, not just black, white, X, Y, Z, the rainbow. I think that at the end of the day, like we can't sit here and wallow and cry about like ain't no judges for who we are, and then exercise the exact same thing, like when it's inside like not even in our best interest. Like to me,
Okay, like when would a white man ever have my best interest as a president? Like that don't that wouldn't happen.
so all right, so here'll be an example. Do you think that Bernie Sanders, in comparison to Trump, had your best interest?
Over Trump, hell yeah.
All right, but you wouldn't have voted for Bernie though. Who did you vote for?
I voted for Bernie, and then when he didn't get to join, what you call it, I was like, fuck it. When he wasn't the candidate, I got Mom Dukes to vote for Bernie. Mom Dukes, old head, and minister all voted for.
We was turned up off the Bernie train.
Bob voted for Bernie. Everybody, all of my people voted for Bernie. We was with the burn, feeling the burn. And then I even had a bar like You know what I mean? 2020, something about, my ballot, Bernie something. I had put that in the bar on the joint. I'm like, yeah, we lit. And then he gave me a bite, and I'm like, damn, I don't want
So you closer to like that Umar Johnson shit where you think that all white people are like
the devil.
subjectively like
I don't know.
evil,
I didn't
and
say
you won't
nothing.
vote for him because he will never have your
No,
best
I
interest.
said but no, but I think there's a very unique space into being a black person in America. And I don't think
But why would you never vote for a white person, even if he has your best interest?
because I think it'd be a black person that have my interest a little
Okay,
better.
so let me just say this.
So you don't vote in actual like the election. You just vote in like the, you know what I mean? So you just vote the preliminaries so that then we can select the candidates. You vote then, but you don't vote in the actual election.
I've omitted my vote.
That's what he said.
Hey, fuck it. If it's an Uncle Tom, I vote for him too. Clarence Thomas running, I'll
Yeah.
go.
Hey, one thing I
This
got
nigga crazy.
Nah,
even with the
I
history
ain't
of
voting for
slavery,
that nigga. I
even
ain't
with the
voting for
history
that
of slavery,
nigga.
Oh look, what's your boy? What's your boy? Go ahead.
even with the history of slavery and Jim Crow and all of that, you do realize white people helped us get out of all of that shit, right? It wasn't just us.
Yeah.
So we had trust in white people at some point.
Shout out to them too.
I'll vote for the white
That man,
You
dude,
don't
stupid.
single shot this nigga Johnny right now.
I ain't saying I'm right. I ain't even saying I know I'm a little
Hey,
biased.
go ahead and tell
Hey,
hey, just say it real quick so I can have it. Say, I ain't voting for no white man.
I'm not. I ain't voting.
No, say those words. Don't say
Give him a chance. He about to get it
What
up.
camera? Right here?
Right
The
here.
Nikon. I ain't never voted for no white man. I never will vote for no white man. It ain't. It's not for me.
We about to go by.
Hey, you said it, John. This one of them down the hill votes.
Yeah, it's a Johnny P.
I mean,
Pause.
Nah, I feel
Hey,
it.
long as he down the hill, bro. Hey, go ahead.
It ain't my hill. All right, so listen, the thoughts and comments expressed on the To Be Fair show does not express the full views of Q,
Oh, hair real.
Old Head Rail,
Tone, I'm in the
or
back. Right? You can't
Tone.
see my face. Don't come looking for me.
These
not the
are
personal,
explicit opinions of the Johnny P of the of the To Be Fair show.
Yeah,
There we
what
go.
they usually say, this is not the viewpoint of the actual the To Be Fair show. This is just the how do they usually
these
frame
are
it?
my personal opinions. Like, hey,
Turn the fuck up. Talk to him.
like,
He also had a horrible LaMelo Ball take. So like you gotta excuse him. He got the purple and teal behind him, giving them kind of takes. But
hey man,
it's
the
all right.
mellow ball take ain't for this. We'll get into that after that. But I said what I said, and like I ain't. Nah,
You ain't backing off that.
well, I don't think what I said is that crazy either. Cause like based on the history of this country, I don't think it's crazy to say what I said. Now,
Right.
if y'all got an issue with me, I'll give you a history lesson. We can go down through it. Like, let's do it. But I'm good.
Johnny, we positive takeaway.
Damn, we gotta do something positive after that.
Might as well.
I think it'd be a good time to lighten the mood, and we'll go ahead and get into our positive takeaway.
Real?
Oh, my bad. So my positive takeaway for the week is to stop writing yourself in your story as the victim. I think oftentimes we and on the show we talk about accountability all the time.
The whole time. Go ahead.
We talk about accountability all the time. You know what I
Yeah.
mean, on our show, and yeah, it's crazy that like I feel like you're creating your own story. You're literally the only person that can write your story is you. So you're writing the story and then continuously writing yourself in the story as the victim. Why not this be just the cause of something that you did, or the effect of something that you caused? So I believe that I know that my life has been a bunch of it has is a culmination of all of the decisions that I made, and so I'm not to let's say that an outcome was not what I would have preferred it to do, instead of making myself the victim, in my mind, what could I have done differently to make that
You're the reason.
Right. Yeah. You in most scenarios, let's talk about like just in relationships. If you've had 10 relationships and they've all failed, the only commonality in all of these is you. So whether it be you're picking wrong, whether it be you need to look at yourself and figure out how you're fucked up and where you need to change. You know what I mean? It's you're the only and so that's why I say like you're writing, we're literally writing ourselves in the story as the victim oftentimes. And I think that's to the detriment. I know that's to the detriment of you and your kids and your family as whole and in our community as well.
Nah, I fuck with that. I'll go.
Oh,
I'll go. My positive takeaway is just keep going.
Mm.
Cause there be a lot of times when, like even me with
Killer
like
Mike.
information, there be a lot of times where you might not know why I'm getting this piece of information, or you might be driving like lost in the fog, and you don't know, like you can't see nothing but 2 feet in front of you.
Mm.
But if you still can drive, you still got gas. Just keep going, and just trust the 2 feet that you can see, and just keep pushing because eventually that fog gonna lift, and you gonna know where you gonna keep on going. But if you would have just stopped, or you just give up, you ain't never gonna get out that fog. So that's my thing. I've just been noticing recently where there's information I might have got 4-5 years ago and didn't understand,
Mm.
but I took it, and then shit happened, and you be like, oh shit, I know this, and I can bring that back, and it give me more perspective on why that happened. And so it's just keep on going, keep on, stay the course. If you believe in what you're doing, you on the right path. And, whether you can see the finish line, whether you lost, whether you, don't know, which direction you really going, if you can see that 2 feet in front of you, just keep going. And eventually you're going to, it's the only choice you got in life is to keep going. Because if you stop, that's death anyway. So,
Don't remind me of that Dave Chappelle intro for on Run on Killer Mike John.
oh yeah,
No.
damn, yeah. Keep running,
Mm-hmm.
like keep running, cause if God give you the life and He give you the pit and pat in your feet, you owe it to Him to keep going, and that's my positive takeaway. Just keep on moving your feet, and whether you can see it or not right now, you keep on moving. You're gonna eventually see that destination.
positive takeaway. I say, even steel can be bent, even concrete can be shaped. I think that it's important to be malleable and understand when it's great to defer X, Y, Z inside life, depending on the situation and the scenario. I don't know. I don't know if it needs to necessarily be unpacked heavily, but yeah, I think that like we can look at like different points in life where it is okay to defer to somebody that's at a better expertise
Mm-hmm.
than we are at. It is also okay to be able to be malleable and not be set to a rigid structure
Mm-hmm.
of whatever we think is supposed to be or happen, but be able to like change and adjust and still be like excellent inside like that. Yeah.
I love that one too.
No,
I
that's
love that
fire.
one.
But you said even steel
Can be
Can
bent.
be
can be
bent.
bent and
Concrete can be
concrete can
molded.
be molded. That's fire. I like that one. I definitely like that one. I want to thank everybody for tuning in again. This was episode 2 of season 3 of the To Be Fair show. I am your host. But before I get into that, I want to say like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification button. Ding! That's what it's gonna sound like when you hit it. Follow us on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram at the To Be Fair show.
OnlyFans at Johnny's P.
Johnny's P at OnlyFans. Hey,
Uh-huh.
hey, $5 a month, man. Run that up, man. We trying to, we try to get there.
Yeah, boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we appreciate y'all for tuning in again. I am your host, Johnny P.
Oh, yeah, real.
It's Q.
And we out.